I like watching people's court. This is very amusing. This one has to do something with a young couple buying their first house, getting into some dispute with their home inspector, which I will outline from the beginning of this. Home inspections are a little tricky. There's always a million disclaimers. It's usually a very surface level inspection of the property. And I encourage many real estate buyers, whether you're buying your first home, whether you're buying your first multifamily, or you're buying like your 100th. At that point, you kind of have a system down when you're like at your 100th building, I would imagine. But if you're buying your first property, you need to do a lot of your own due diligence. We're not really probably gonna be able to rely on the home inspection report to the extent that it's gonna figure out everything or disclose everything or show you everything about it. So I'm gonna react to this video and then I'll probably have comments along the way. But this could be like a whole video in itself on doing due diligence when buying a property and looking for defects.
These are the plaintiffs, Samantha Bruno and Dennis Nash. Samantha says they hired the defendant to do a house inspection on a new house they were buying. And the inept guy told them the house looked fine. He issued a report stating normal wear and tear, so they closed on the house. Well, it turns out the roof was shot and illegal, and the oil tank was rotted out, and an environmental hazard.
I don't know how a roof can be illegal.
To catch these things, and he didn't. So now they're suing him for $5,000, the amount it's going to cost them to fix the things he missed. This is the defendant, Richard. He says he most certainly noted
he looks like a home inspector.
With the roof, the oil tank, and a laundry list of other things that were in bad shape. It's no accident he's been in business for 40 years because he knows what he's doing. And the plaintiffs are grasping at straws trying to get him to pay for their house repairs. He's accused of missing it.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiffs hired the defendant to do an inspection of the house they bought, but the roof turned out to be a total mess. The defendant says he noted the roof problem, so tough. It's the case of all about eaves.
Thank you, Douglas. Samantha Bruno and Dennis Nash.
Yes.
You are suing Richard's company, his home inspection company. You don't want your last name used nor the name of your home inspection company, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. For $5,000, you say you're out actually more than that in repairs you had to make because he didn't spot him. Tell me what, according to you. So tell me what happened.
Okay, so on August 25th, 2015, Richard came and did our home inspection when we
How did you get his name to hire him as a home inspector?
the real estate agency.
I would be curious which real estate agent recommended the home inspector. And then I would want to know if the real estate agent is double ending the deal, which I do not like that phrase, but it's the phrase, which is the real estate agent is representing both buyer and seller. It's called dual agency. It's allowed, I think, in nearly all jurisdictions. I don't know if it's allowed in this jurisdiction. But like in California, you can have dual agency, where the buyer and the seller can be represented by the same broker. So if you have a real estate agent that recommends home inspecting agency, they probably like that agency because they probably tend to turn around more favorable reports. I would do first step in your own due diligence when it comes to this process is maybe look for your own home inspecting agency and look at their reviews and do research on them, how long they've been in business, what they specialize in. If you're buying a house, you want one that specializes in single family residence inspections. But if it's being recommended by a real estate agent, I would be curious which one represented them and if they were representing them, the buyers, or representing both sides.
They came and did the home inspection.
Was the realtor representing you or the seller?
Us.
Okay.
So then he said everything was okay with the house. The major problem.
I'm sorry, he said everything was okay with the house? I assume you issued a written report.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the report.
Yeah.
So go on.
So that was like the major things that he told like us and our parents were there
So
too.
you seem so young to be buying your first home. Good for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you doing that all on your own, or who are the
Yes.
gentlemen behind you?
Our dads.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Okay. Were you doing it with a little help from your friends, or were you doing it on your own? Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised their parents weren't involved. If the gist of this case is that something wasn't caught during the inspection process that they later found out how to deal with. So if they are having their parents show up to court with them, young, their dads. I'm surprised their dads weren't out there partaking in this due diligence process or having more to say about it. That being said, don't rely on your parents to do your due diligence if you're going to be buying the property.
22.
Oh,
And
that's
24.
really young.
Yeah.
Did you get a good
21
deal?
at the time? Yeah, we did.
Okay. I mean, you had an inspection period within which you could just cancel the deal, right? That's usually how it works.
Yes,
Right,
because
yeah.
if there's a
Right.
major
So
problem with
really,
the house.
you have leverage during that inspection
Right.
period where you can. I assume that your fathers were guiding you. It's your first
Right.
husband out there.
Yeah.
All right. So you could say to them, "Well, fix this, or else I'm pulling out." and
Yeah,
then-
that's right.
But were other people looking at the house too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to say boo. All right. So
When you are going to buy a property, there's typically a few ways that you buy a property. In this case, they're probably buying it with a loan. So they were probably pre-approved for a loan. And they could just basically at that point, they know how much money they can, like their budget for a house. Like I can buy a house up to this X amount of money. And they have X dollar amount for a down payment and they can afford, the principal, interest, property taxes, if it's applying in that jurisdiction, insurance. When they're saying there were other people looking at the property, at this point, they may or may not have put in an offer. I couldn't foresee them paying for a home inspection report if they hadn't already put an offer in, but there can always be backup offers. So you could put in an offer and then you could back out of the offer, the deal could fall through, and then there'll be other backup offers. So when she's saying there's multiple people looking at the property, there very well could have been other offers, and so they probably were somewhat pressured to buy the property irrespective of this home inspection. That's probably not going to come up in this thing. And that's also part of the home buying process, is you get a due diligence period. Unless you're buying it all cash, no contingencies. Contingencies typically means here's the offer, however, it's contingent on me getting approved for a loan. They probably at this point were already pre-approved, so it probably wasn't a contingency. Another one might have been, here's my offer, it's contingent on me doing a home inspection. If things come up in the home inspection that they don't like, they can ask for a credit. If the seller is not willing to give a credit, then they can back out of the deal, and then there's maybe backup offers, or it just goes back to the market and someone could put an offer on it. So it looks like at that stage, they put an offer on it and they were in the contingencies period, meaning they were doing the home inspection, they were doing their due diligence, and they could or couldn't, they could have pulled the deal, or it seems like they went forward and purchased the property.
So what ends up happening here?
Okay, so then we moved in on October 30th, and then we were setting up our oil company. And on the 14th, they came to do their inspection, and for us to sign all the paperwork. When they came, they told us that we were put on the no oil delivery list because the oil tank was rotted at the bottom, the legs were buckled.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm a Florida girl. You're
Okay.
you're talking about what?
The oil tank, on the side of the house. Ours is outside on the side of the house.
Okay.
So he said that he had an obstructed view because there was lattice around it, and I understand he can't move it, but lattice is see-through. So when the oil people came to look,
Well, what did he say? He didn't say there's an obstructed view because there's lattice. He just
Right.
said my view was obstructed.
right, I think he said there was minor rust observed.
Oil tank is located on the east side of the yard. Some rust was observed, unable to view the portion of the tank against the side of the house. Limited visibility due to lattice installed around the tank. No evidence of leakage.
Right.
Okay.
So when the oil people came to look at the tank, they said that it was leaning against the house because the legs were buckled and the whole bottom of the tank was rotted. So they actually wrote a statement saying that we weren't allowed to get on the
Probably wasn't leaking because there probably wasn't any oil in it, because she just said they were on the no oil delivery list. So if there's no oil in it, the oil wouldn't be leaking out. In the inspector's defense, if there's no oil in it, it wouldn't be leaking. That being said, did he check to see if there was oil? I'm assuming it's some sort of tank or drum.
oil delivery list. They wouldn't give us oil until we replaced the entire tank.
Can I see that?
Yeah. And then the invoice is attached to the back.
When did the inspection take place?
August 25th.
And the closing took place when?
October 30th.
Were you able to see the thing leaning against the house when you bought the house?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, so you saw that it was leaning and that didn't raise a
Oh,
flag to you?
I didn't know. We trusted.
Okay,
We put
and
our
was
trust
it
in
leaning
him.
when you looked at it? Yes or no?
No.
It was pushed up too
Yes,
close to the
it was
house?
set up right up against the
But
house.
but upright?
Correct.
Do you have pictures?
No.
Don't you take pictures when you go through?
No, I don't.
I don't think I've ever seen a home inspection report or any inspection report during the purchasing process that didn't have some sort of photos. Especially with insurance, the insurance company sends out inspectors and they like inspect the property and they take photos and they're representing basically the insurance company. And they'll take photos of what's defective and what needs to be fixed. They won't take photos of everything. They'll just take photos of the things that are typically wrong. So for this one, usually in home inspection reports, they'll have photos of what's wrong. And then you can like look at it and assess if you're going to fix it. Or in this process, you look at it, maybe you'll ask a contractor to bid the cost of repair on it. And then you'll ask for, credit. Like, hey, this was discovered in a home inspection. I had a contractor come and look at it. They said it's going to cost X amount to fix. So we want X amount as credit on the sale. That's pretty common. They did not do that. They are like first time home buyers. They wouldn't know to do that. But the fact that he just said he like didn't take photos is kind of weird to me. I would imagine, they usually come out with like a camera and they take a lot of photos. Not that the photos are all going to go into the report, but that's weird that he didn't take photos.
Okay. Do you have any pictures that would prove that it was leaning at the time of the inspection, which was August, September, October, November, 3 months beforehand?
No, we didn't take pictures through the inspection. I just
Nobody
have the
took pictures.
picture.
All right, so
No.
let's talk about, you had to buy a new tank, and the tank was what?
2100.
Wow. Okay, and then what about welcome to homeownership?
Yes.
Apparently you think the bleeding stops when you,
Yes.
it's only just begun.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
so
all
tell me about the roof, because you had a problem with the roof
Yes.
as well.
So then they came and they replaced the oil tank on like November 23rd. And then on November 27th, we went away. We had a nice vacation. We got engaged. We come home and there was a big giant hole in our dining room because there was a huge leak in the dining room.
What do you mean, a hole in the, you mean, what, you're going like this, but you mean like this?
Oh, up on the ceiling. A hole
The
in
ceiling.
Yes.
Okay. And then what?
So then on January 2nd, we called a roofing company to come inspect the roof. And there was no tar paper in the back of the house where it was. There was
Okay.
It was just shingles on plywood, which is that's not up to code. It's not legal, technically, the roof, he said.
And when you say, quote, it's not legal, what are you referring to?
You have to have tar paper and ice shields on
Okay.
your roof,
And the tar paper is something that's underneath, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, and so how would the inspector see that there's no tar paper?
Well, even like with binoculars, the guy said that
Let's talk about that with binoculars, okay?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. What is the point of somebody paying you $350 if you can't get on the roof and look at the roof? Because it's gotten to the point, listen to me, because I'm gonna unleash on you my wrath that has slowly built up over the 17 years I've been doing this.
So did the inspector do his job?
If he did a thorough investigation, I would look at the whole report to see if he had done a thorough investigation.
But he didn't catch the tar paper, the lack of tar paper.
But you can miss some things.
Can you miss that?
I think that's acceptable to miss.
Because it's hidden.
Yeah, it's pretty hidden.
Okay, that's your point. Going inside the courtroom.
I believe in capitalism. I believe that what should occur is that the consumer should not tolerate it anymore. If I see somebody...
Wait, I don't get it. I believe in capitalism, and I think the consumer shouldn't tolerate it anymore. I don't know why that's so hilarious to me. I don't know what that means. I believe in capitalism. Consumers shouldn't tolerate it anymore. I don't. What do you mean you believe in it? Like it's not made up, or you believe in it like you support it? I don't know what that means.
Maybe a contract that says I'm responsible for nothing. The only thing you're consuming for is $350, which all of them do that now. So you're not going to find a home inspector.
Right.
Who doesn't do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
All right. And you signed that contract, okay?
Mine doesn't have a signature.
You didn't sign a contract with them limiting it to $350?
No.
So you have a contract with them limiting it?
Yes, I do.
Limiting it. So it's small claims, so she must see these a lot. She should read through, at minimum, skim through the contract to see, what the disclosures are and what the disclaimers are, what the limitations and liability are, etc. She's just assuming it. She's probably not wrong, but she should skim through that.
Signed it. Everybody, this industry now does that just like the cleaners.
Right.
It is limited to the cost of your ticket.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And that would
She's
be fine
upset.
if
It's a little personal.
Also didn't read things like I observed it with binoculars from the ground.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing is, the guy didn't hide that. He said it in the report.
Yeah.
Because the entire report is 20 pages, 19 of which are disclaimers,
Yeah.
and that's not unique to him. I'm not
Right.
saying anything. This is how this industry works at this point.
Yeah.
They say the foregoing is an opinion of the general quality and condition. The inspector cannot and does not offer an opinion or warranty as to whether the roof leaks or may be subject to future leakage. The only way to determine whether a roof is absolutely watertight is to observe it during a prolonged rainfall. Most leaks occur around flashing. If excess tar is covering the flashing, it may also be an indication of prior leakage and potential area for water entry. Did you note that? Was there excess tarring or no?
Well, like I said, when we do a home inspection, we make every effort to find every defect that we can. We put everything down in the report, everything that's visible. Of course, there are some things that are not visible. I even made a note in, she was talking about the heating system. I made a note the heating system wasn't even working that day. And I made a note about that.
But she's not complaining about those things. She's complaining about the roof and the oil tank.
Typically, when we're looking at the oil tank, we'd like to, obviously there was like this lattice fencing around it. You can't get your head underneath it. There's a fencing around it.
Okay. Now, as much grief as I have given this gentleman about how, here's how I believe in capitalism. I do. So I don't believe that anybody has to take care of me. I have to take care of myself. If everybody believes that, we'd all do better. Okay? So if I get a contract that says, I guarantee nothing, and then I take it for what it's worth. If I get a report that says I observed it with binoculars, I'd say, wait, I think we need to take a closer look. Right. If I see a report that says it's partially obstructed, then I'd say, what did he lie about? What did he say that wasn't true in that report? Because that's what you're going to have to show with all the disclaimers. Right. Because when the man tells you, I didn't get in a ladder, I saw it with binoculars from the street, and that was good enough for you then, why am I supposed to turn around and say you didn't do your job? I don't know.
Well, we did have the pre-inspection agreement that we signed, but on our part, we did not sign. So I honestly don't even remember.
Is she talking about our carbon copy?
Did you hand it to me already?
Yeah.
Because that is where it
Okay,
says
well, here's where you sign, sweetheart.
Right, but on our carbon copy.
Did you sign it or didn't you?
She signed the front sheet. This is, people still have contracts like this. There's carbon copies. So sometimes there's a white copy and then there's a yellow copy. So when you write on it, it's supposed to transfer to the other copy if people don't know what carbon copy is, which I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people don't remember. So she's saying, well, my copy doesn't have the signature. Well, it doesn't matter if your yellow copy has it. The white copy has your signature. You signed it. So you signed the contract and the guy could scan it and give you a copy. That's for record keeping purposes, but she signed it. So she can't say, well, my yellow copy doesn't have it. Then it's there would be no contracts ever, if that's the case. So that's not going to hold up.
I signed it, but
okay, then you signed it. Then you're bound by it. What are you saying to me?
But I thought it was the termite inspection because he did the termite inspection too.
Now she's saying, I signed the first one, but I thought it was a termite inspection. Well, it's your responsibility to read the contract and know what you're signing before you sign it.
Okay, sweetheart, stop. You can't say this. You signed it. It's here. You can't say you don't know all these disclaimers. It's what you signed.
I was by myself when he first got there.
Oh, you're just a little girl and you can't read?
No, but our parents got here. I didn't read this.
That's tough. You're like the person who buys a car and then says, but it was nighttime. Okay, that's how you chose to do things.
The judge just 180'd. She was mad at the home inspector. Now she's mad at the home buyers. That won't fly in court. If you go to court and said, I didn't know what I saw, it'll never work. There is no judge who's going to care for that.
This was who you hired and this is the report you accepted and you went forward and bought a house based on it. He never hid what he did. Look, I feel terrible for you. You're so cute, both of you. I can't believe you own a house at this young age. Welcome to home ownership. If you think that the home is a source of stress, wait till you have kids. Oh, forget about it. All right, but this is how it works. And if you think you're done finding stuff wrong with it, believe me, you haven't even begun to scratch the surface.
Right.
The man has told you in each and every part, hey, I can't see this, so I don't vouch for it. Hey, I didn't get on a roof, so I don't vouch for it. It's over and over, and every page it says it. Mm-hmm. So I can't find that he breached the contract based on that, and my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
So I have a few, I think, when you're in the process of purchasing real estate, the home inspector is there to kind of catch what could be at surface level, viewable, this is an obvious issue. If you want to be really diligent in your purchasing efforts, they could have had a roofer come out and inspect it. He's like, the guy's not going to go like cut open a piece of drywall and go, okay, everything inside the wall is fine. No. If you're worried about the electrical systems, you'd have an electrician come out. If you're worried about the plumbing system, have a plumber come out. You can also pull up typically permits that apply to the house and look through, when things were last permitted. If you can't find any permits, then the property probably hasn't had major renovations since it was built. So everything in the house may be original, which could be fine, or, could be that it needs upgrading. Just because something isn't up to code presently doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't up to code when it was initially installed. Codes change over time. When the roof was installed, maybe there was a code then that's changed since and applies now. I don't know. I take it they're in Florida. I don't know anything about Florida building codes. Building codes are actually local, so they vary a lot from place to place because there's different terrains, different elements, different things like that would affect it. But as far as doing due diligence, a general home inspection will uncover a few things, but it's not going to be like you can't go in and sue the inspector and say, well, the house has all of these problems, you didn't find it. They're not necessarily going to find all of the problems. That's just something you get with experience or having specific vendors come in and look at, like someone who's very familiar with roofs, someone very familiar with electrical, someone very familiar with plumbing. I guess in this point, someone very familiar with oil tanks. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. People have a lot of home inspections and they often find things. I've had clients buy properties and then they find things like a month later that weren't disclosed, and there's really not much that can be done. You buy things more or less as is. In that case, they should have read through the report more, maybe asked the home inspector more questions about each one of the comments. They probably could have delved further into it. All in all, those reports tend to have lots of disclaimers and it's hard to kind of get them on a lot of things. I don't see where necessarily he lied about anything or hid anything. He said he couldn't see the oil tank and he didn't like go and inspect the roof. He didn't seem like he went into the attic to see, like he wouldn't know what's underneath those shingles, or in this case, what's not underneath those shingles. That being said, homeownership is very tricky. Buying real estate is very tricky. The more you do research and the more questions you ask about things, the better you'll be. It might be annoying for other people involved, but you're the one ultimately buying the thing. Always budget and plan for just like the unknown. As much as you can budget, it's good to have some sort of savings account set aside if you're going to buy a property for things like this. Like they had to spend like something like $2,500 or $2,100 for an oil tank. It seems like they probably really need oil for whatever they need to operate the house. They didn't get it till like the 23rd, it was a month later. So it's important if you're going to be buying something that you make the effort to do all the research you possibly can and inquire about all the things you possibly can. Because once you get that house, it's pretty much yours and it's going to be on you to make any sort of repairs going forward. That is my lecture for the evening on this video. The judge was pretty mild today, but she did, yo-yo. Hopefully this was very helpful for you. If you are going to be buying a property, make sure you read through any home inspection report, read through all of it. And if there's any sort of thing that has a note, you might want to dig deeper into it on that report. Good luck.